You're sliding along the cracked asphalt of old Route 66, the night thick with a humid silence that clings like a damp blanket over your cab. The road stretches ahead, an endless ribbon of cracked paint and faded memories under the pale gaze of a waning moon. Your rig's engine hums a steady lullaby as you settle deeper into the worn leather seat, the faint scent of pine air freshener mingling with the cool desert breeze sneaking in through a cracked window. Mile markers tick by, and you're chasing the clock, hauling a load of canned goods from Chicago to LA. But tonight, Route 66 feels less like a highway and more like a forgotten vein pumping into the heart of something otherworldly. You've heard the stories before, of course. Every old-timer swears that Route 66 is haunted, not just by the usual specters of lost souls or hitchhikers who vanish into thin air, but by the so-called lost signals. Ghostly, CB transmissions that come and go, whispers over the radio that make no sense, and sometimes static bursts that sound like a voice, but fade before you can catch a word. They say the phantom signals started appearing right after the highway was officially bypassed in the 80s, a sort of spectral echo of all the truckers who once rode this route when it was alive with the roar of diesel and honking horns. You lean into the wheel and flick your CB radio on, just to hear that comforting crackle of channel chatter, Channel 19, the classic trucking talk frequency. Static. Then for a moment, a faint, tinny voice cuts through. You catch a single phrase before it dissolves. Keep eyes open. The voice sounds distant, like it's bouncing off a canyon wall somewhere ahead. You fiddle with the squelch knob, trying to get a better signal, but the transmission fades into white noise. You shake your head with a half-smile. Great ghost radio, you mutter to yourself. The kind of thing you chalk up to old radio equipment or your tired brain playing tricks. But you're no rookie. You know better than to dismiss things so easily. You've been down this road enough times to recognize the subtle shifts. The way the wind carries a chill that doesn't match the desert heat. The way distant headlights sometimes flicker in patterns that don't line up with any traffic. Your GPS, usually a reliable companion, glitches briefly just past mile marker 214, its digital voice warbling in and out before restoring to normal. You tap the screen, suspecting maybe you hit a dead zone. But this is Route 66, the old mother road. Dead zones are part of its charm. As you ease past a weathered diner whose neon sign buzzes weakly in the darkness, your dash cam catches movement, something flickering just beyond the edge of the headlights. A figure, a shadow. You blink and it's gone. You try to focus, the interior of the cab suddenly feeling too cramped, the silence pressing in. The CB crackles again, more frantic this time, a chorus of garbled voices overlaying each other. Did you hear that? What the hell was that on the radio? A scratchy voice cuts through, familiar yet vague. Lost signal again, another replies. Same spot, mile 213 near Devil's Elbow. You grimace. Devil's Elbow is infamous on this stretch, a hairpin curve with a history of wrecks and disappearances. Legends say truckers who navigate it at night sometimes see a ghost rig trailing behind them, a massive semi with no driver, lights glowing like embers in the dark. You grip the wheel tighter, scanning your mirrors, but there's nothing, just your rig and the endless night. You flip the radio to Channel 9, the emergency channel, and try to hail dispatch. Dispatch, this is Heavy Hauler 67. You copy. Static. You curse under your breath, switching back to 19. The static swells, then clears briefly. Keep on, don't stop, it's watching. The message flickers through the speaker, broken and distant. You lean back, the hairs on your neck standing on end. There's a story told by old truckers about the lost signals, how they're remnants of old distress calls, echoes of accidents and SOS calls that never reached help. Some swear the voices belong to those trapped between worlds, still trying to warn drivers away from the dangers that claimed them decades ago. You glance out the window. The stars above blink in indifferent silence. The road ahead curves sharply, and the temperature drops suddenly, frost forming in strange patches on your windshield despite the desert air. The CB bursts to life again, this time with a voice you recognize. A fellow driver who disappeared off the grid a month ago. Or at least, that's what the news reported. This is Rusty, can't. Get out. The signal cuts off mid-sentence, leaving only static and a chilling quiet. You swear you see headlights behind you, distant at first, then growing brighter closer, but when you check the rear view, nothing's there. Just your own rig-s blinking taillights reflected in the cracked mirrors. You reach the last rest stop before the highway merges onto the interstate. The place is deserted, save for a lone pickup with its engine running. You kill the engine and step out, the smell of burnt rubber and old coffee thick in the air. The night is alive with subtle sounds, the rustle of dry leaves, the distant howl of coyotes, and faintly, just faintly, the buzz of static from your radio. You reach into your pocket for a cigarette, fingers trembling slightly, and light up. The glow casts dancing shadows across the cracked pavement. You glance at your radio one last time. The static clears and a voice whispers, so soft you have to lean in to hear. Safe travels, until next time. You snap the radio off, the whisper lingering in your ears. As you climb back into your cab, you wonder if the lost signals are warnings or simply echoes of a road that never truly sleeps. You hit the ignition, the engines growl a reassuring pulse in the night. The neon sign flickers off behind you as you merge back onto the dark ribbon of Route 66, its secrets as deep and endless as the miles ahead. The trucking community still talks about that stretch, the lost signals of Route 66. Some say they're just interference, a glitch in the system. Others believe it's something more, a spectral voice from the past trying to connect with those who keep the road alive. Experts debate whether these transmissions are real or shared hallucinations born from long hours, fatigue, and the endless night. You don't know what to believe, but one thing's certain. After tonight, you'll never drive Route 66 quite the same way again. You're rolling down the lonely interstate just past midnight, the hum of your rig's engine your only company, when the familiar glow of the way station signs appears in the distance, a fluorescent beacon slicing through the midnight black. The air is thick with a chill that doesn't quite match the late spring, something colder, more hollow. Your cab's heater clicks off, and you crack the window a bit, letting the scent of damp asphalt and distant pine crawl in with the breeze. You're used to these stops, the routine checks, the waiting in line among the shadows of rigs like yours, all of you bound by the same rules, the same roads. But tonight, something feels off. You ease your rig onto the scale, the metal plates groaning under the weight as your tires roll slowly forward. The familiar fluorescent bulbs flicker, casting long, wavering shadows across the concrete like dancers with no rhythm. You notice the other trucks lined up, 4 or 5 rigs, their drivers ghosts behind tinted windows. The occasional murmur of CB chatter flickers through your radio. Channel 19 alive, with the usual midnight drunks and rookies swapping stories about phantom trucks and disappearing rest stops. You lean into the mic, but your voice sounds distant, swallowed by static and faint whispering you can't quite place. Midnight Way, this is Lone Hauler 12 over, you call, hearing only the buzz of silence in reply. The dispatcher's voice should be crisp, but tonight it's a ghostly hum, like a radio caught between worlds. You pull into the designated spot, kill the engine, and step out. The cold wraps around you like an unwelcome shroud. The way station's cameras hum softly, eyes in the night. But something about their gaze feels wrong, invasive in a way you can't shake. You spot movement in the corner of your eye, shadows, thin and tall, stretching and twisting against the dim walls. No trucks or people should be there. You blink and they vanish. You rub your hands together, exhaling clouds of vapor, your breath mingling with the faint smell of diesel and something else, something like burnt incense or old leather, out of place in this sterile pit stop. You hear the distant scrape of metal, a whisper of footsteps where none should be. The legend of the Midnight Way station has been passed around truck stops for decades. Drivers who swear they've seen figures lurking just beyond the floodlights, waiting silently in the night. Some say these shadows are the remnants of truckers who never made it through a particularly harsh winter years ago, forever caught between the scales and the blacktop. Others insist it's a kind of spectral checkpoint, a place where your soul is weighed along with your cargo. The stories vary, but every veteran trucker nods soberly and warns, don't linger after dark, and don't look too closely at the shadows. You settle back into your cab, trying to shake the unease creeping along your spine. You check your GPS, signals flickering. That's nothing new this far out, but tonight the screen glitches more than usual, the coordinates bouncing erratically. You flick your CB radio on, and static spills into the cab like cold water. Then, through the noise, a fragmented voice crackles. Don't trust the waiting shadows. You laugh nervously, shaking your head. Good one, guys, you say aloud, but your voice sounds hollow. You hit the mic again, but only static answers. The digital clock on your dash blinks. 1:13 a.m. Time seems to slow here, stretched thin like the shadows themselves. Suddenly, your dash cam picks up movement outside. Figures materialize, silent, shifting shadows pooling just beyond the light's edge. You try to focus, but they blur and melt, impossible shapes that seem almost to breathe. You fumble for your phone to snap a picture, but the screen blacks out. The glow from the way station sign flickers violently, plunging everything into an eerie half-light. You reach for the door handle, heart hammering, but before you can move, your CB crackles sharply. Midnight Way, we're watching," the voice whispers, low and unplaceable. You slam the mic down, fingers numb. The next truck in line leaves suddenly, engine roaring into the night. You watch the dust trail fade. You're alone again with the shadows. Dispatch finally comes through on the radio, voice clipped and confused. "Are you there? We lost your signal. All cameras at the station show nothing. No truck, no driver. Did you move your rig?" You stare at the empty road ahead, your rig the only one on the scale. "I'm here, just waiting." There's a long pause, then a static-laden sigh. "We're sending a patrol. Hold tight." Minutes stretch endlessly. The shadows pool closer, curling at the corners of your vision. You swear you feel breath against your neck. The cab's temperature dips sharply, your breath fogs the glass. You flip the CB back on, desperate for any chatter, and catch a snippet of an old driver's tale. There's a place where time folds. The Midnight Way isn't just a station, it's a crossroads. Some who stop there never leave. Their shadows wait, and sometimes take a ride. You lean back, blinking hard. Outside, the shadows move again, no longer just at the edge of light, but creeping forward, intangible and silent. The patrol's headlights finally cut through the darkness, scanning the lot. They stop, puzzled, as if they see what you can't explain. Their radios crackle with confusion over a missing truck that apparently never arrived. You start the engine, the cab vibrating beneath you. As you pull away, the shadows recede, but the cold lingers. The way station's lights flicker, then shut off, leaving the road bathed only in moonlight. Since that night, stories have spread like wildfire. Truckers report lost signals on their radios near that way station, strange shadows caught on cameras, and phantom whispers warning them not to stop. Safety protocols changed. No more overnight waits at the station. Dispatchers reroute trucks before midnight, and a few drivers refuse the way altogether. Experts debate whether the shadows waiting at the Midnight Way station are real hauntings, optical illusions born of fatigue, or some shared hallucination brewed from long hours on the road. Some even speculate about electromagnetic anomalies interfering with equipment or a liminal space where reality blurs. You still hear the whispers on your CB now, and then faint and elusive. Sometimes, late at night, when the miles stretch empty and the road hums beneath you, you wonder if the shadows are waiting for you to stop again, to see if you'll join the others who never left. You're rolling through the Appalachian Pass just after midnight, the engine of your rig humming a low, steady drone beneath your feet. Outside, the world is swallowed by a thick, clinging fog that presses against the windshield, blurring the edges of the world like a watercolor that's still wet. The cold dampness smells of pine needles and earth, soaked with the lingering scent of rain that fell hours ago. Your headlights slice through the grey mist in pale beams, barely revealing the slick blacktop twisting ahead through dense, shadowed woods. This stretch of road, winding, narrow, and lonely, is notorious. You've heard the stories, of course, trucks vanishing without a trace, phantom headlights that chase and disappear, and whispers on the CB radio from drivers who never quite made it through. Your fingers tap lightly on the wheel, steadying nerves worn thin by miles of monotony and stories told over static channels at the truck stops. Tonight you're hauling a load of refrigerated produce from Nashville to Pittsburgh, a simple run made complicated only by the unforgiving mountain pass. The GPS bounces signals erratically as you ascend, flickering between satellites like it can't quite hold on. You glance at the screen, the blue dot blinking uncertainly, trapped somewhere between valleys and peaks. You flick on your CB radio, channel 19, the lifeline for truckers like you. The familiar crackle fills the cab, a comforting white noise against the silence outside. A voice breaks through, low and ragged. Fog's thick tonight on the pass. Keep your eyes peeled, or you might not see the end. The speaker's handle is muffled, but the warning is clear. You respond with a tired chuckle. Copy that, Ghost Rider. Watch yourself out there. The name makes you smirk. Everyone around here has a nickname, and Ghost Rider fits the bill for the old-timer who's been running these roads since CBs were cutting-edge tech. You've heard him mention disappearances on this stretch before, and though you'd like to dismiss it as trucker folklore, a tiny part of you can't help but listen. As you climb higher, the fog thickens, wrapping around the rig like a living thing. The road narrows, the trees pressing closer to the shoulder, their skeletal branches scraping faintly against the side mirrors, as if reaching out to slow you down. You catch a faint flicker in your peripheral vision, headlights glimmering just beyond the mist, tailing you at a distance. You check your mirrors, nothing but the empty road behind. Your breath fogs the cab's interior as the temperature dips unexpectedly. You glance down at the dashboard, the digital clock reads 12:47 a.m. Your radio crackles again, a voice breaking through static. Did you see M? Truck just vanished at mile marker 83. Last I heard, it was following a rig into the fog. The urgency is subtle but unmistakable. You steady your grip on the wheel, heart ticking faster. Copy that. What rig was it? You ask, voice barely above a whisper. Can't say. It was a shadow on wheels. No plates, no lights, just gone. The line goes dead. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. These stories are common around here. Ghost trucks, phantom convoys, lost drivers swallowed by the mist. There's even an old tale of the Appalachian fog phantom, a spectral rig said to roam the pass, luring drivers off the road. Some say it's the spirit of a driver who died here decades ago, cursed to ride the fog forever. You shake your head, trying to steady your nerves. Ghost stories for the road, you mutter, but the chill in your bones doesn't fade. Your headlights catch movement just off the shoulder, a figure, or maybe a shadow shaped like one, standing where no one should be. You blink and it's gone. The cab's dash cam, set to record for safety, flickers with static. You glance down, and for a brief second, the screen shows an empty stretch of road, then a flash of something tall and dark, just at the edge of the frame. Your radio crackles, this time with a distorted, whispered voice. Don't trust the fog, it waits. You laugh nervously, but your smile is tight. Yeah, well, I trust my rig more than ghost stories. You tap the mic, trying to call dispatch. Dispatch, this is Ridge Runner 22. Any word on that missing truck? Static, you try again. The GPS glitches, rerouting you inexplicably down a side road that wasn't there on your previous map. Your rig's radio picks up faint voices in languages you don't recognize, layered over each other like a forgotten choir. Your windshield fogs up rapidly, despite the heater cranking. You wipe at it, but the moisture returns instantly. Outside, the fog thickens into a wall. The trees become silent sentinels, watching, waiting. Minutes pass, or maybe hours. Time distorts in the fog. You hear a distant honk. Another, a rhythm like a truck convoy rolling through the mist. You strain your eyes but see only endless grey. Then headlights, dozens of them, appear out of nowhere, snaking along the pass like fireflies. They flicker and vanish, leaving you alone in the silence once more. Your phone buzzes, a message from a fellow driver, Panic Tom. If you hit mile 84, turn back. Nothing but shadows and silence after that. You tap a quick reply. I'm almost there. The cab's lights flicker, then cut out. The rig's engine sputters. You're left in pitch black, surrounded by the oppressive fog, with only the rhythmic thump of your heartbeat. Suddenly, the CB bursts to life with frantic chatter. Voices overlapping, panicked. Where S. Ridge Runner 22? He disappeared at the pass. He never made it through. You grip the wheel so tight your knuckles blanch. Your eyes scan the empty road, but no other rigs come into view. Dispatch's voice finally cuts through. All units be advised. GPS signals lost for Ridge Runner 22 near mile marker 83. Search and rescue teams deploying. You're shaking now, breath shallow. The fog seems to pulse alive. The whispered voices return, barely audible, teasing, inviting. Join us. You hit the ignition, praying the engine will roar back to life. It sputters, then grinds into a low growl. The lights flicker on. You gun the throttle, tires spinning against wet asphalt. As you descend the pass, the fog thins and the world comes back into focus. The radio silence is deafening. Days later, fellow drivers report strange glitches on their CBs near the pass, ghost signals, voices pleading for help, phantom headlights trailing behind rigs only to vanish without a trace. Some say the Appalachian Pass is a portal between worlds, a place where the fog doesn't just hide, but consumes. Others argue these phenomena are hallucinations caused by fatigue and isolation on the road. Experts debate whether the disappearances along the foggy Appalachian Pass are accidents, hauntings, or something else entirely. You still can't explain the shadows waiting in the mist or the ghostly voices on the radio. Every time you hear a distant honk or catch a flicker of headlights in the fog, you wonder if they're calling you back. The trucking community has tightened safety protocols, avoiding the pass at night, upgrading communication equipment, and sharing warnings on CB channels. The legend of the foggy disappearances remains an unsettling reminder that some roads carry more than just freight. They carry secrets best left alone. You're rolling down the lonely interstate just past midnight, the hum of your rig, engine your only company, when the faded sign for the Forgotten Rest area flickers weakly in the distance, barely visible through the haze of mist that settled over the highway like a ghostly veil. You've passed this spot hundreds of times before, but tonight it feels different, like the road itself is holding its breath, waiting for something you can't quite see. Your rig's headlights cut through the damp darkness, reflecting off the slick asphalt and the metal guardrails that line the shoulder. The air smells faintly of burnt rubber and stale coffee, the remnants of countless drivers who stopped here long ago. You ease your rig onto the gravel lot, the crunch of tires against loose stones breaking the eerie silence. There's no one else here, no other trucks, no flashing lights, just a single flickering street lamp casting long, shivering shadows. You pull the brakes and kill the engine, the sudden quiet making your ears ring. The only sound is the faint rustling of dry leaves carried on a cool breeze, the kind that creeps under the skin and refuses to let go. You step out, stretching cramped legs, and take a slow breath, letting the cool air wash over you. The mist clings to your jacket and settles on the cab's windows like a film of frost. As you walk toward the dilapidated picnic tables, your boots crunch on broken glass and scattered cigarette butts, forgotten tokens of travelers long gone. You glance at the crumbling restroom building, its door hanging crooked on rusty hinges. The place smells of mildew and something older, something that doesn't belong. You flick on your CB radio, hoping to catch some familiar voices on Channel 19. The static crackles, then a faint voice murmurs through, almost like a whisper. Don't trust the quiet, he's waiting. You blink, heart skipping. Who's waiting? You ask into the mic, but only static answers. You lean against your rig, the words settling like a stone in your gut. The legend of this forgotten rest area is well known among long-haul drivers, a place where a stranger appears out of nowhere, always silent, always watching. They call him the Quiet Stranger. Some say he's a hitchhiker who never left, a lost soul trapped between stops. Others believe he's a test, an omen that warns drivers to keep moving, never to linger. You've heard stories from old-timers, trucks that stopped here never left, drivers who saw the stranger only to vanish days later. One driver swore the stranger's eyes glowed faintly in the dark, reflecting the yellow light of the street lamp. Another claimed the stranger's voice was never heard, but his presence was a weight in the air, heavy and cold. Your GPS flickers erratically, the signal weak and wavering, as if this forgotten patch of highway sits outside the reach of modern navigation. You reach for your phone to check the time. 12:07 a.m. Your dispatch calls in, voice clipped. "You good, Ridge Runner? ETA in 2 hours." "Yeah, just stretching my legs at the rest stop." "Quiet here," you reply, voice steady but cautious. "Don't get too cozy," dispatch warns with a half-joke. "That place's got a rep." You chuckle softly. "Yeah, I know, ghost stories and all." You glance back toward the darkness at the edge of the lot. Something shifts, a shape, a silhouette barely visible beyond the mist. You squint, heart tightening. It's the quiet stranger. He stands motionless, hands in his pockets, a long coat blending into the shadows. No face, just a dark outline, unmoving. You swallow hard, telling yourself it's just your eyes playing tricks. You step back toward your rig, but the stranger moves slightly, just a hint, a whisper of movement like a shadow sliding along the wall. The CB radio crackles again. "Keep moving, don't stop." You grip the mic, voice low. "Who is this?" "What do you want?" Silence, then a faint whisper, so soft you're not sure you heard it. He waits for the quiet. The hairs on your neck rise. You slam the mic down and start your engine, the rumble filling the night. As you pull away, you glance in the side mirror. The quiet stranger remains, standing alone beneath the flickering street lamp, watching you leave. Days later, other drivers report strange static on their radios near that rest area. Whispers, faint footsteps, and glimpses of a silent figure in the mist. Surveillance cameras show the lot empty, no sign of any person. Dispatchers advise drivers to avoid stopping there after dark. Experts debate whether the quiet stranger is a ghost, a trick of the fog and isolation, or some kind of shared hallucination born from long hours behind the wheel. Some say the rest area exists in a liminal space, a forgotten crossroads where reality bends. You still wonder if the quiet stranger waits for every driver who dares to pause, silent sentinel of the forgotten. And every time you roll past that sign, the mist rising like a shroud, you feel a chill, and a whisper on the radio you can't quite explain. You're rolling down the lonely stretch of the Pacific Coast Highway just past midnight, the steady hum of your rig, engine the only company you have. The ocean breeze drifts in through the cracked window, salty and sharp, carrying with it the faint echo of crashing waves mingled with the distant call of seabirds settling in for the night. The moon hangs low, a silver sliver barely cutting through the thick marine fog that's rolling in off the water, wrapping the highway in a cool, damp shroud. Your headlights slice weakly through the mist, illuminating the slick pavement and the dark silhouettes of towering pines and weather-beaten cliffs that drop off sharply toward the restless sea. The scent of damp earth and salt is heavy, almost intoxicating. You feel the familiar tug of solitude settle in your chest, the kind only a long haul on the coast can bring, a mix of awe and isolation. You've been driving this route for years, the Pacific Coast Highway a ribbon of beauty and peril, but tonight there's a stillness that feels different, as if the road itself is holding its breath. You glance down at your CB radio, flicking it on out of habit. The static hisses softly before a crackling voice cuts through on channel 19. "Coast Runner 5, you copy. Anyone out there?" The voice sounds tired, distant, layered with the familiar fuzz of long-range radio chatter. You respond with a half-smile. "This is Ridge Runner 12, loud and clear." But before you can say more, the channel floods with a strange, low-frequency static, more than interference, almost like a hum vibrating beneath the surface of the signal. This isn't the first time you've heard it. Truckers along the Pacific Coast Highway have long whispered about the haunting radio static, a phenomenon that's been reported for decades. Old-timers tell tales of ghostly voices weaving through the static, fragments of conversations that never were, cries for help from nowhere, and sometimes the unmistakable sound of a radio operator calling out from a rig that vanished years ago. Some say it's the restless spirits of drivers lost to the fog and cliffs, forever broadcasting their distress into the void. You shake your head, reaching to adjust the squelch knob. "Ghost stories," you murmur, though a prickle of unease lingers. The radio flickers again, this time with a faint, distorted voice whispering, "Don't trust the waves." The words are barely audible, like a secret caught on the edge of hearing. You glance at your GPS. The signal is spotty here. The satellites sometimes glitch in this coastal canyon, lost behind cliffs and drifting fog. The digital map flickers, and for a second, you swear the route ahead disappears into a blank space, as if the highway itself has been erased from the grid. You're not sure if it's a system error or something else entirely. The rhythm of your tires on the wet asphalt is suddenly broken by a low thumping noise from the trailer. You check the rearview mirror. The road behind you is empty, no other rigs or headlights following. The thumping persists, regular, deliberate. You lean forward, heart picking up pace, and tap the radio mic. Anyone else hearing this? Trailers making noise. Static responds, then a familiar voice. "Yeah, Coast Runner 7 here. That's the old heartbeat of the coast, or so they say." A chuckle follows, but it's hollow, almost nervous. You grin weakly. "Heartbeat of the coast. What's that supposed to mean?" "Legend goes," Coast Runner 7 says, voice dropping to a whisper, "that trucks lost on these cliffs still roll along, their radios picking up the last signals they ever sent. The thumping you hear could be a ghost rig's pulse, echoing in your trailer." You laugh to yourself, but it feels tight, like trying to stretch a rubber band too far. The CB bursts with chatter, some drivers sharing eerie stories. Phantom headlights on the cliffside, trucks that vanish mid-drive only to reappear hours later with no driver in the cab, and the ever-present radio static that seems almost alive. You've heard these before, but tonight, with the fog thickening and the ocean's roar mingling with the hum of your engine, the stories weigh heavier. Suddenly, your dashboard lights flicker and the radio goes dead. The silence is deafening, broken only by your ragged breathing and the steady thump-thump-thump from the trailer. You reach for your phone to call dispatch, no signal. The screen glows dimly, then blacks out. You tap the mic again. "Dispatch, this is Ridge Runner 12. Do you copy?" "Nothing." You glance in the side mirror and catch a glimpse of headlights flickering behind you, 2 rigs, maybe 3, tailing your path through the fog. You accelerate, the trailer jolting with each bump, but the headlights keep pace, never closing, never falling behind. Your CB crackles back to life with frantic voices. "Ridge Runner 12, turn back. The road's closed ahead. Landslide. Dangerous conditions." The urgency is clear, but the voices overlap and distort, the static swallowing parts of their warnings. You press the brakes, heart pounding, and pull over near a small turnout. The fog swirls thick around your rig, blurring the edges of the world. The other headlights vanish as quickly as they appeared. You step out, the cold fog wrapping around you like a damp cloak. The thumping is louder now, not just from the trailer, but from beneath the earth, a rhythmic, pulsing sound that seems to sync with your heartbeat. You shine your flashlight down the rocky embankment and catch sight of a long-abandoned service road, swallowed by overgrowth and shadow. A sudden crackle comes through your radio, whispering your name, followed by static, and then silence. Goosebumps rise on your arms. You back into the cab, locking the doors, eyes scanning the fog-shrouded highway. A faint, ethereal glow flickers on the horizon, headlights, or something else. The next morning, rescue teams find your rig parked on the shoulder, engine running, but no sign of you. Your dash cam records only static and a few seconds of eerie, incomprehensible voices. The trucking community buzzes with tales of the haunting radio static on the Pacific Coast Highway. Drivers swap warnings, updating safety protocols. No stops after dark, constant radio checks, and avoiding that stretch in heavy fog. Some dismiss it as equipment glitches or nerves. Others swear the highway hides a secret. Experts debate whether these radio phenomena are paranormal or technical anomalies caused by atmospheric interference. Is it a shared hallucination born from exhaustion and isolation? Or is the Pacific Coast Highway truly haunted by voices lost to the sea and mist? You sometimes wonder if the radio whispers still call your name through the static, waiting for you to answer.